Hello, my absolutely brilliant and beautiful astrology soulmates. It's me, Stormy Grace, and welcome to your weekly horoscope for the week of July 21st, going all the way until the 27th. And this week is still packed with plenty of cosmic moments for us to look around at. We're still in Mercury retrograde in Leo. There's a really nice, potent new moon that's going to be happening, inviting us to have a reset with our relationship with confidence and creativity and power. We've also got Venus and Mars in conversation this week, and the sun moves into Leo as well. So it is a very actionable week. Now, listen, before we jump in, I have a big announcement. I'm really excited to share this with you. We've been weeks in the making getting it all together, but officially, I can announce to you your 2026 astrology forecast team. They're going to be going live. Your horoscopes are going to be out around about October, November timeframe. You'll be hearing from myself, Colin Bedell, Christine Skinner. Helena Woods is joining us for travel because you asked for travel this year as well. We're also going to have Kira Sutherland and, of course, the beautiful Tiffany Harlick. So you will have such a delicious and full annual forecast coming up for each and every single sign. And if you've never seen them, I would encourage you to go back and watch the ones for 2025 because we really unpack the year for you the best that anybody can in a general. So I'm really excited. Each one of us is bringing a powerful message for our specialty to guide you through 2026 with a lot of love, a lot of financial information, and tons and tons and tons of astrology. Okay, now before we officially jump into this thing, if you have not joined my YouTube 6-day challenge that is coming up August 2nd, I would love to see you in class. It's all about not just helping you find your voice and your message, but breaking through the fears of coming online, as YouTube is a resource that can support your business or your practice or whatever it is that you are trying to share a message around. I would love to have you. That's in the description box down below. All right, let's jump in here and see what the week has to offer, and your timestamps are down below as well. Now, coming into the week here on Monday, the 21st, first of all, we're coming in on Monday in our moon day energy that brings us in is in the vibration of Gemini, and it'll be here all day long. So we're going to see that the moon traveling through Gemini is chatty. It's very chatty, right? We have the moon in an air space. So we want to think about how we feel, but we also in Gemini want to talk about how we feel. So you may find that your emotions, actually, you're curious of them, or you feel a bit more restless, or, mentally you really want to be stimulated. You want to find out, why do I do that? Why do I think that? There's a lot of Gemini focused energy that's coming to your attention. So what I want to tell you is stay curious. Now, we still have Mercury, the ruling planet of this moon being in Gemini, still in retrograde. So it could also be that you are going back over something that was said, a decision you made, something like that, and you're being curious about, is that what I really meant when I said that? Or what is it that I really mean or that I'm really trying to say? And that's okay, because the moon in Gemini here, especially at that emotional level, will help you get clear and kind of gather some data, before you're out here making really big decisions. Now, of course, that moon is going to come into conjunction with Venus that's traveling through Gemini as well. And I really do love this because it just brings this beautiful ounce of sweetness to the day. Right? It's like, wait a minute, my thoughts and my words are actually harmonized. I feel like my heart and my heart's desire are in alignment as well. It's a beautiful transit for writing, for creating things, for having those beautiful conversations, not super deep. Gemini's not trying to go super deep. You're just maybe sharing ideas with some people around you. Now, Venus is also on Monday going to be in a square to the North Node that is happening in Pisces, okay? So this is a mutable square, first of all. So on Monday, if you're feeling a bit more nervous about something that you want to do and you want to take on, I'm going to tell you this particular square is where I think we hit a crossroads that comes up on Monday because, life or your something bigger feels like it's pulling you in this direction, but your values are not necessarily currently aligned with that direction that you're being asked to trust and maybe move forward, move towards. So there can be this tension between, this is what's familiar to me, or this is what I know, This is what I know I value versus where I have to move forward without knowing everything and having all the answers to be on the genuine path of growth that is available to me. So the conflict is there. And in the square energy on Monday, remember, you're feeling like you're being squished. So maybe this shows up in a conversation, and instead of telling the truth, and saying, yeah, this is actually what's right for me, you're really tempted to go into people pleasing mode. Or maybe you want to go shopping, and that shopping and treat yourself, it seems like a really good idea at the time, but then it leaves you questioning your spending habits all night long, right? So it's a kind of a balancing energy that you want to be mindful of, especially because, again, Mercury is still retrograde, right? You're thinking, oh, this is just going to be a lighthearted moment. And then it ends up being a little bit more heavy when you get honest about what's really going on and what it is that you're really doing. Now, as we get to 3:53 p.m., and this is going to be Eastern time, so make sure you calculate it in your particular time zone, we're going to see that the moon is going to come into a square with Mars, and then it's going to step into a void of course position. So, as the moon squares against Mars, the first thing that I want to tell you is you don't need to force anything. You don't need to force a decision. Your feelings could be running from one end of the spectrum to the other, and you don't need to force anything. Instead, take this energy of moon square Mars into the void of course with you, because during that void of course time, you get the opportunity to rest. You get the opportunity to let something just marinate. You get the opportunity to go back to something that you were thinking, feeling, or working on and review it. And then when the void of course is over, you're going to be able to come out and say, okay, I have a lot more clarity on this. Or I finished this set of things over here. I got them done because Mars is over there in Virgo. So it does want you to get organized. Do the projects so you can bring them to completion. And then you feel like you can settle back in when the moon's out of void, of course, feeling a lot more confident. All right, on Sunday, we see that the sun moves into the vibration of Leo. So happy, 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 happy birthday, my Leo friends. The sun is back in domicile, it's back in full power. So you are likely going to be really feeling that experience. So as you're going through this and the sun is blaring and it's shining over here, one of the questions I would ask you to consider is to, remember, first of all, that the Leo, especially being in the sun, is the heart of the zodiac. What makes your heart light up? Leo is bringing our attention, and the sun is bringing our motivation to pay attention to the fact that what's our joy? Where's our courage? What makes you personally radiant, right? This is sun energy. This is a time to shine. It's a time to create. It's a time to reconnect to your children or your inner child, whatever the case there may be. Because, you think about those little kids who are in their Superman costumes, right? For my daughter, it was always her bikini and her cowboy boots. And to this day, she will tell you like the amount of courage and audacity that she had in that energy is something that we get to step forward with. Your confidence comes into a position of rising as we're in the energy of Leo, but also behind it in your adult form and our adult spirit, the sense of purpose, right? That I am purposeful because I'm joyful. I am purposeful because I am, not because of what I do. Leo is still a fire energy. So it's an invitation here over this next 4 weeks to just step into your light, just to step into your light. Now, very, very quickly, we will also see that the sun is going to oppose Pluto, which are these cultural ideas, the societal ideas, the new world ideas, which that could feel very scrambled. Or what are the old ideas of my society? And is that really true, Sun and Leo, for me? Is that my voice? Is that my energy? Also on Tuesday, we're going to have the moon shift into the vibration of Cancer. So there's this inner tug between being really expressive where the sun is out in Leo, right? The sun is in its domicile, the moon is in its domicile. So do I go out and express myself, or am I here in safety and self-protection? So Tuesday could feel a little bit like a balancing act because that Leo Cancer blend If we work against it, it can feel a bit like chaos. But if we blend it together and work with it, it just asks us to take pride in our own being and our own emotional journeys as well, not to hide it. And this is something that I talk about a lot in especially my business classes, is that maybe the thing that you really have to share with the world doesn't feel all nice and gushy. Maybe it's the thing that you're embarrassed to talk about that you found a solution or a way to come to the other side, right? We're all of the things. So whether it be something in your home, your family, your sacred space, your security that needs attention, this is a good day on Tuesday to take a look at where you can just really own that journey, declutter your mind around how things are supposed to be, and instead just let it shine. Because you're also going to be using the energy of today to start to visualize your new moon intentions that are going to be pouring in and giving you that forward energy as we get down to Thursday. All right, on Wednesday, we've got the lovers, Venus and Mars, coming into square with one another at 21 degrees. So you want to look at 21 degrees of Gemini and 21 degrees of Virgo in your chart. And I think that this is one of the most dynamic aspects that we get all week long. Because when Venus and Mars square, they stir the pot in relationships. They stir the pot over what do I value, what do I desire, and what am I motivated to go do? So there's a friction here under this square, but the friction creates a fire, right? It creates some kind of movement. A square will create movement in the chart. Now, it can be the kind of movement that is conflict, or it can be the kind of movement that is passion. It can sometimes also, this is a mutable square, it can feel like chaos, right? But you'll have to decide what to do with this square energy. But let's think about this. Venus in Gemini wants to flirt. It wants variety. It wants play. It wants connection. It wants information and values information that's not too deep, right? It's sharing data points. Mars in Virgo wants efficiency, details, honesty, improvement. It wants to go down that road. So these two are not necessarily speaking the same love language right now. And that might show up in your relationships. You could feel pulled between, I want to really go this way because I want to indulge in this pleasure or this idea, or I value this. But then I also need to fix something that is potentially not right. Something's wrong over here. I want to say, first of all, though, I think that it's okay to acknowledge that both are right, right? You can want to move forward and need to fix something that is in your present circumstance all at the same time. Like it's okay to feel all of the feels around that. You and your partner want to spend some quality time, but you can't agree on how to do it. One wants to connect through going really deep and fixing maybe a repair in the relationship, and the other one is like, let's sit quietly together and watch this documentary. Maybe, you feel pressure to respond to an email or a text, but instead of feeling like you have clarity around what the answer is, you're actually feeling a little bit more annoyed, right? And you're not quite sure exactly how to handle that. I would pause until your signals don't feel so mixed. For those of you working on projects, I think it's important to acknowledge the frustration that can come up here as well, because you're working on a creative project, but perfectionism, right? That Mars in Virgo is causing you to think about scrapping that thing. Now, Mars has also been traveling right there with that South Node. So we're trying to pull out those perfectionist tendencies. But I just want to remind you that even if you're feeling the frustration, or someone doesn't like your idea and you're feeling the frustration, remember that this transit it's just a square. It doesn't have to break anything. It's here to get us to wake up, right? To go, it's let me channel this energy in a different way. If I've got excess energy or I can't seem to get it on board, I just need to do something else where I have all green lights. Where can you move your body? Mars and Virgo. Where can you rearrange your space? Where can you tackle a project you've already been putting off that doesn't make it so that you have to tackle this thing right here at the moment? Just be mindful here on Wednesday of your words, because Venus in Gemini is talking fast, sharing a lot of data, sharing a lot of information. Mars in Virgo can be very critiquing and holding on to every detail without realizing it. And then you say something that you regret. Okay. All right, on Thursday, now we're rolling into the energy of the new moon at 2 degrees of Leo. And this is going to be happening early in the morning. So 6:13 a.m. Again, that's Eastern time, New York time. I feel like that's an easier time zone for us to work with. So we'll get to have this new moon energy, and then we'll have the intensity as well as the sun in an opposition to Pluto. So, as we have the new moon happening in Leo, again, grab your chart. You want to see where 2 degrees of Leo lights up in your chart because that's where you are getting your fresh start. And it's a pretty bold lunation, right? This lunation is about planting your seeds of intention after being offered an opportunity that is so fertile to reclaim your joy, your voice, your creativity, your presence. How do you hold and move in your presence? What makes you feel authentic and alive? What would you do if you weren't afraid to walk in and be the sun in every situation that you're in? Right? To be seen. What makes you feel seen? So, this new moon is here to help you answer those questions and to plant those seeds. So, I would encourage you to plant your seeds of intention for your expression, for your courage, for you to, even if you're already leading in some way, whether it's your household or a company or a community group, where can you come from a more heart centered place of leadership? Because Leo rules the heart. So, this moon is going to ask us to come home to our own hearts every single time. It's a beautiful time to do that. And maybe there's art that lives in your heart, or there's romance, or there's something else that's just brilliantly soul centered that's living there for you. But please make no mistake, this is not a fluffy lunation. Okay. It tightly is in opposition to Pluto that is in Aquarius. And so this is bringing power struggle. This is bringing transformation. This is bringing something that we've been talking about all year is it's you got to shed the performative identity. You got to shed the performative identity and find out what's really you, what's really authentic, right? You might feel it's a new moon. You might feel a little bit emotionally exposed. That's Plutonian energy, but that's part of the rebirth cycle. Now, the new moon is also going to be in a nice conversation here with Saturn. This looks brilliant with Uranus and Neptune, of course. So I think that gives us some insight as well into the fact that whatever you're changing into or you're discovering actually brings you this Leo heart-centered energy. You have stamina, you have endurance, you have imagination to create what you need to next. We're being the world creators of the next world that we're going to be living in. So I think if you make some pretty serious strides, but also plant your seeds of intention to create something that holds your light for a very long time, that this is a lunation you can be bold enough to ask and say, I'd like to do it this way, and then begin or begin again right from here. When we get to Friday, we're going to see the moon, of course, traveling through that vibration of Leo energy all day long. The new moon was very early on. So we get to carry that new moon vibration plus just the heart of Leo all through Friday. So when you are here, integrate yesterday's new moon intentions. Maybe Friday you even get the opportunity to feel a lot more bold, feel a lot more energized, maybe a little bit vulnerable because you're moving and speaking from the heart or beginning to learn to do that. And that's okay because vulnerability is power in Leo season because that is where your authenticity is going to be able to be seen. It's also with the moon in Leo, it may be a great day for visibility where you're feeling more comfortable. So put out that rich art, post that rich content, share that rich message, but don't forget to check in with why you're doing what you're doing. Is it you're doing it because society said you have to do it, so you're just putting something out there, whether that's what you're saying at work, what you're doing online, or come back to your inner child. Is that true? Is that true for that inner child? How do you feel about what you're doing, not just how it looks? Mercury is still retrograde, and we're going to be traveling with that for quite some time until we get into August. But I just want to remind you of that on this day on Friday as well, because you're also in the season here in Leo of refining that voice. So maybe you're revisiting an old script or an old idea, or you're maybe even re-editing content or rewriting the story of your life in your heart as to what you're allowed to have, where you're allowed to shine, whether or not you need permission to do things. You're also allowed with Mercury and Leo to speak warmth, speak the sun into the spaces that you go, and of course, to move with grace. Okay, when we get to Saturday, now we've got the moon that's going to come into this sextile with Venus. And I actually really like this for us because it's going to create this aspect before it goes into its void of course. So the aspect created before the moon steps into void of course, we can use that energy during the void of course time. So again, the moon Venus here is adding a bit of sweetness and a bit of softness to the air. You know, you might wake up and you're just feeling like you're feeling like you're a vibe. You're like, this is such a mood. You're loving life. You're ready to go. You're ready to pamper yourself. You feel like you know your values a bit more deeply. It's a great morning for romance, whether it's romancing you or romancing something in your life. Bring that art, bring that beauty piece into it. Be kind to your body. Take all of this sweetness into this beautiful energy of the void of course time. Take it in there with you, okay? Because later in the day, we're going to see we're going to get into about the afternoon, evening here. We're going to see that the moon is going to leave the Leo terrain and shift into the vibration of Virgo, and the energy will tighten a bit, right? We're going to leave the moon in fire and we're going to tighten up into an earth energy. So after all those good Leo feels, Virgo is like, that's very good. Now let's be practical. I love that that's your passion. I love that you're speaking your fire to the center, but now we need to organize that. So we're going to spend the weekend getting on our organization. We're going to clean our house. We're going to clean the calendar. We're going to make a system for how we bring our authentic selves, content, work out into the world that aligns with good energy for us. I also like having a moon in Virgo as we go through the weekend because I always feel more prepared for the week because Virgo is going to prep, right? We're going to see that the Moon in Virgo is going to end up coming in contact with that South Node with Mars. So we're going to be prepping for the week, setting the ground for what needs to happen next week. Now, it's also a great day, I think, to refine any new moon intentions that you have. Yes, the new moon was a couple days ago, but you may be a couple days past that new moon and you're like, oh, I see this. That's not very practical, right? I can't do this that way. It's not practical. Let me re-envision this. So you put together those new action steps that are a lot more joyful, even in how you're getting it done, or they just make more sense, right? You were trying to do 2 + 2 = 5, and now the moon's in Virgo, and it's like, that's it's just still 4. It's just still 4. And so you you upgrade the system. So I think it's a beautiful week we have in our hands. Energetically, it is sound, it is busy. You might feel the pressure of something or someone not being exactly on the side that you want it to be on of your values and your intentions, and that is okay. You get to see how you move and how you shake and how you pivot and how you change without dying, right? How do you change without dying during this week? All right, my absolutely beautiful friends, I love you. Have a great week. Let me know how it goes in the comment section down below. And we'll be working behind the scenes to get your 2026 annual horoscopes together so you have a view of your entire 2026 year in the general forecast. I love you guys, and I'll see you next week.